So I want to ask you guys each the same question. If you think back to the last 5 years, you're obviously all in a constant state of learning. Is there something you have changed your mind on? Something significant that you've changed your mind on? And not just changed your mind on, but it's changed the way you behave, the way you help other people. I'll start with you, Gabrielle.
This is a big one. I don't think body fat percentage is nearly as important as we think it is. I think that it is going to be somewhat of an outdated metric. I believe that intramuscular adipose tissue, this IMAT, is going to be much more predictive of disease. And this came from, I interviewed on my podcast Melanie Cree, and we were talking about PCOS. And I'm thinking, metabolic PCOS, what is the body fat percentage that's going to change the outcome? And she looked at me and she goes, Gabrielle, it has nothing to do with body fat percent. It had to do with their intramuscular adipose tissue. And that, I think, is going to be an upcoming theme. It's much more specific to insulin resistance and these metabolic outcomes that we care about.
And commercially, obviously, it can be measured quite easily with CT scans and with MRIs. To my knowledge, it's very difficult for DEXA to approximate it. So
that's right.
So how is ultrasound viable? Obviously, you wouldn't be able to get whole body, but you could sample the quads, which is where it would be most. That would probably be the canary in the coal mine, is if you're accumulating muscle in your quads.
Yes, and I think it's also very difficult to
accumulating
test.
Fat in the quads, yeah.
Very difficult to test. MRI seems to be where a lot of the data is. We're not there to measure it. But this is something that I think we are going to see so much more of. And, we're all focused on a muscle-centric approach. And for the last 50 years, it's been all about obesity. And this is the same thing. It's almost that we're looking where it's obvious, but it doesn't mean that that's where it's effective.
I really agree with you, actually. And I think pharmacologically, for what it's worth, I think that's the next frontier, right? So I think what the GLP-1 agonists have done over the past 5 years, with the introduction of the third and fourth generations of those drugs, the first two were largely failures. But because of how successful the third and fourth generations were, we're really at a point where I think people can see that you can address the crisis of overabundance from a nutrition standpoint. But what people realize, the new problem that is yet to be addressed is sarcopenia. And when I'm looking at what's at the leading edge and the frontier of biotech right now, it's all around anti-sarcopenia drugs. Now, of course, we have another great drug that works against sarcopenia. It involves holding iron and eating certain types of foods. But if where billions of dollars are being invested is any indication of what people realize is the next frontier, I think people are waking up to the idea that it's not enough to solve the adiposity problem. You must address the sarcopenic problem.
Yes, I couldn't agree more.
What about you, Mike? What have you changed your mind on in the last 5 years?
This one, I'm glad you gave me a head start to think about this. Some digestive health. I had a bowel resection done 9 months ago. So they took a foot of my colon out. And I realized, I actually did a really good presentation for our staff called You Don't Know Shit. And because I think that's the most neglected area of health right now, because we don't want to talk about it. And people, it's uncomfortable. And until you experience it firsthand, you don't realize how important fiber is, how important water is, how badly, like most of us are, chronic dehydration seems like it's a big deal, but it's really not a big deal, but it suddenly is a big deal. I liken it to, it's like you have a dumpster your whole life that's out in the back of your house and it just gets emptied all the time. And then suddenly one day you realize they can't empty the dumpster anymore. Like I'm in trouble. And that's us. Like we're worried about our muscular system. We're worried about our nervous system. We're worried about our endocrine system. And our digestive system is just this thing that's supposed to be this dependable system that's just going to take care of us forever. And then suddenly in our 50s and 60s, it starts to fail. And we don't want to talk about it. And I mean, I was in the hospital. I was sick. And the guy was like, yeah, we got to, this is major surgery. We got to take a foot of your colon out and put you back together again. I won't go into the real gory specifics, but it made me realize that, I mean, I take a fiber supplement all the time. I put fiber in my shakes all the time now. I look at how much fiber is in everything that I eat now, because you talk about protein numbers. Look at the fiber numbers. Our people are way more fiber deficient than protein deficient, but they're not. They're going to suffer the effects way down the road, and it'll be too late for them to realize. So if I would say to anybody, I'd be like, drink more water, eat more fiber, because you don't want a bowel resection.
All right. What about you, Jeff?
Breaking the rules, I have a couple, but personally, I think I have two twin 9-year-old boys, and so in the last 5 years, they've gone from 4 to 9, which for a dad is sort of where the phase where mom was definitely the favorite for the first 4 years, and then I sort of step in and become the fun guy. So I've realized through their interactivity with me, number one, to appreciate things I didn't appreciate before. I think in the first half of my adult life, I was so focused on professionally achieving whatever I could, whether it be working for the Mets or then starting this business and really going, all hours of the night to try to build a business. Not that I just still don't do that, but I really have learned to better prioritize my time with my kids, to the point where it's difficult for me to make travels out to do podcasts, because I really try to be around them. And I've learned to appreciate, because of they're on the spectrum, I've learned to appreciate their wins every day, right? So it's like, wow, I don't take anything for granted. That's a thing that I am so grateful for, that I've been able to benefit from, because if I don't think if the situation was different, I probably would just continue to work the way I did. But I think from a professional standpoint, kind of oddly, one of the things that I think is really overlooked is balance training. And I think that it's an area that people are going to probably have to spend a little bit more time focusing on, because it's like we just talked about digestive health. Like it's another one of those things that's going to get worse as you get older for a number of reasons. Number one, your reaction times will get worse. Number two, your proprioceptive sense is going to get worse, which is essentially your sense of body position. Number three, your strength is going to get worse, as we talked about, inevitably decade by decade. When we consider what all that leads to, ultimately falling, we talked about these fears. I don't have the fear of falling right now. I'm sure you don't have the fear of falling right now. We have the Achilles tendon stage right now, but 20 years from now, 30 years from now, our biggest fear should be falling, because when you do, you're likely going to live a pretty difficult end of your life, and it might lead to a much faster end of life. And I think that actually training balance is another one of those things that's going to have to get kind of sectioned into that 5 minutes of extra work that you're going to want to have to do for yourself. And the most important thing when you're training your balance, even if it's just simple standing on one leg and drawing an alphabet with your other foot, is to close your eyes. Because I think that when you don't close your eyes, you're actually just one-dimensionally creating an environment that's not actually what we're going to face. Most people fall in the dark because they don't have that visual feedback to correct. By the time you send that signal down to your ankle to make an adaptation, it's too late. And again, if our reaction times are delayed too, it's going to be even worse. So it's just a thing that I think people that are already older should start working on, because as a skill, you can improve it. And as somebody who is looking down the line here and seeing things change, including my eyesight, which used to be so perfect up close, that changes. I know all of these things are happening under the hood. And making a dedicated effort is something I think people should probably invest some time into, because it's well worth the investment for that long-range safety.
I'm Peter Attia. This podcast relies exclusively on premium subscribers for support, which allows us to provide all our content without taking a single penny from advertisers. I believe this keeps my content honest, making it a trusted resource for listeners like you. As a premium member, you'll get immediate access to our entire back catalog of AMA episodes and all future AMA episodes. You'll get longevity-focused premium articles packed with actionable insights. You'll get unrivaled show notes for each and every episode of The Drive, every topic, every study, every resource from each episode carefully curated for you. You'll get quarterly podcast summaries where you'll learn my biggest personal takeaways from the previous 90 days of expert guest episodes, and much more. This journey doesn't have to be navigated alone. We can take these steps towards a better, longer life together. Become a premium member today at peterattiamd.com/subscribe. to join me in a shared commitment to a healthier future.